When scientists compared Ötzi the Iceman's DNA to that of his Alpine neighbors, they expected similarity, but what they found shattered that assumption. Buried in his genes are clues to a vanished lineage, secrets that no living or ancient genome has ever matched. If Ötzi carried the genetic legacy of a lost people, who was he, and what really set him apart on that lonely, frozen pass? Across the South Tyrolean Alps, archaeologists fanned out over rugged slopes, valley floors, and wind-scoured mountain passes, searching for the faintest traces of prehistoric life. Each discovery began with precise mapping. GPS coordinates were logged for every burial, every bone, every artifact. The remains used in the study came from a wide range of altitudes, from lowland farming settlements to seasonal rock shelters perched above the tree line. Field teams documented every layer of earth and stone, recording detailed stratigraphic logs to anchor each find in time. In these highland zones, ancient hunters and herders left fragments of themselves in caves and beneath rock overhangs, while in the valleys, villagers built homes and tended fields, their lives layered beneath centuries of soil. To ensure every comparison would be meaningful, researchers double-checked the chronology of their samples. Radiocarbon dating was cross-referenced with the archaeological context, calibrating each individual's age against the slow rhythm of climate shifts and cultural change. The 47 individuals included in the DNA study spanned more than 5 millennia, from the Mesolithic to the Middle Bronze Age, but special attention went to the 15 who lived during Ötzi's own era, between roughly 3400 and 3100 BC. Their remains, uncovered in neighboring valleys and Alpine passes, offered a snapshot of the Copper Age world Ötzi once knew. This disciplined groundwork, with meticulous mapping, careful dating, and clear context, laid the foundation for the genetic detective work that would follow. Inside the laboratory, ancient bones and teeth moved through a tightly controlled clean room pipeline. Technicians in full-body suits handled each sample with sterile tools, minimizing the risk of contaminating DNA that had survived for thousands of years beneath rock and ice. The most promising material came from dense dental pulp, where even ultra-short fragments, sometimes just 30 or 40 DNA letters long, could be captured and copied. Each genome was sequenced to generate over 1 billion reads, enough to reconstruct not just individual profiles, but the subtle patterns linking entire communities. The next step unfolded at the intersection of archaeology and mathematics. Bioinformaticians fed this raw data into powerful computers, searching for hidden ancestry signals. Principal component analysis, PCA, mapped genetic relationships in 2 dimensions, clustering individuals based on shared markers. To go deeper, the team used QPADM, a statistical tool that models ancestry as a blend of source populations. This approach let researchers estimate for each person the proportion of Anatolian farmer, local hunter-gatherer, and other ancient components that shaped their DNA. Through these methods, even the faintest traces of migration or isolation left a readable imprint. The sequencing pipeline and computational modeling did not just recover genetic code. They revealed the story of who belonged, who arrived from afar, and who, like Ötzi, carried the legacy of lineages on the brink of vanishing. With these tools in hand, the researchers were ready to compare Ötzi's genetic fingerprint against those of his Copper Age neighbors. Ötzi's DNA stands apart like a fingerprint left in wet clay, stubbornly different from every other ancient genome recovered from the Alps. His genetic ancestry is 90.5% Anatolian farmer, one of the highest proportions ever recorded in prehistoric Europe. This means nearly all his roots trace back to early agriculturalists who journeyed from Anatolia thousands of years before, settling and farming these mountain valleys. But the real surprise comes from the details carried on his sex chromosomes. The Y chromosome, passed from father to son, places him in the G2A2B2A lineage, a rare branch found in Neolithic people from places as far-flung as Germany, Spain, France, and Croatia. Among the 15 men from neighboring valleys, tested in the same study, not one shares this paternal signature. Instead, almost all carry G2AL497, a branch that became widespread among early European farmers, but left Ötzi behind. His maternal line is even more enigmatic. Ötzi's mitochondrial DNA, inherited from his mother, belongs to a type called K1F. After sequencing thousands of ancient and modern genomes, no other individual, living or dead, has ever been found with this exact lineage. It is as if his mother's family vanished completely from the genetic record, erased by time or lost to history. In a region where most people belong to clusters of related lineages, Ötzi's genetic identity was a statistical anomaly. He carried the marks of a population that once thrived, but by his lifetime had nearly disappeared. The numbers are clear, but the meaning is less so. What does it say about his place among his neighbors, or the forces that shaped his fate? Across the Copper Age villages of the Tyrolean Alps, daily life unfolded within tightly knit communities shaped by lineage and marriage. Most men inherited not only land and livestock, but also their father's Y chromosome, a genetic thread that ran unbroken through generations. In the DNA of Ötzi's neighbors, this pattern stands out. Nearly every male carried the same Y haplogroup, G2AL49, a signal of patrilocal tradition where sons remained in their birthplace, rooted to ancestral soil. The real movement came from women. Mitochondrial DNA tells a different story with a remarkable variety. H, J, K, U, V, and X, pointing to origins far beyond the local valleys. Each marriage brought new maternal lines into the village as women arrived from distant regions, weaving a web of genetic diversity that crossed mountain passes and river valleys. Physical appearance, too, can be glimpsed through ancient genes. 6 individuals, including Ötzi, likely had brown eyes and dark brown to black hair, traits that echoed their Anatolian farmer ancestry. None of these Copper Age people could digest milk as adults. The gene for lactose tolerance was absent, so dairy played little role in their diet. Meals centered on grains, wild game, and the seasonal bounty of the highlands. Yet not everyone fit the pattern. Among the men, 2 carried rare Y chromosome branches, one with roots in the eastern Mediterranean or Caucasus, another with links to later Bronze Age migrations. These exceptions hint at a world where newcomers sometimes joined the community, bringing distant ancestry into the Alpine mix. The genetic record sketches a portrait of villages bound by paternal lines, enriched by the journeys of women and occasionally reshaped by outsiders passing through. In the centuries after Ötzi's death, the genetic makeup of the Alps shifted in ways that can now be measured with striking precision. By mapping DNA from individuals buried in different valleys, researchers tracked the arrival and spread of steppe ancestry, genetic signatures linked to herders from the Pontic Caspian grasslands. In some Alpine communities, as much as 1/3 of the genetic material comes from these newcomers, a level that rivals or even exceeds the steppe influence seen in later Bell Beaker sites of northern Italy. This influx appears earlier in the Alps than south of the mountains, suggesting that migration routes cut directly through these highland corridors. The data show that steppe ancestry did not trickle in gently, but arrived in substantial waves, reshaping the population structure of entire valleys. These findings set a clear timeline and scale for one of the most dramatic demographic changes in European prehistory. Unlocking the next secrets in Ötzi's story will depend on both scientific innovation and international cooperation. Researchers are now turning to single-cell ancient DNA capture, a technology precise enough to recover genetic information from individual cells, even in degraded remains. This approach could reveal hidden variation within ancient populations and help trace vanishing lineages like Ötzi's maternal K01F. Yet progress also hinges on access. Several key Copper Age skeletons from northern Italy remain unsequenced, awaiting permissions that are slow to arrive because of legal and ethical debates over excavation and reburial. As more genomes are added and advanced techniques come online, each new discovery promises to bring us closer to understanding the full tapestry of Alpine prehistory. The story, for now, is still unfolding. Today, ancient DNA exposes how entire lineages can vanish, leaving only questions in the ice. As genetic technology advances, every new sequence challenges what we know about our origins. Ötzi's lost ancestry reminds us humanity's story is never settled. It is still being rewritten, one genome at a time.